This commenter says, Trump wants to stop the ridiculous spending. He wants education to be put in the state's hands, not the government. You should do more research and not just watch the news. Okay, well, first things first. Trump doesn't want to cut wasteful spending. He wants to cut any spending he doesn't like. There's a difference. But let's deal with the heart of the issue here, right? He wants education to be put in the state's hands, not in the government. First things first, it already is in the state's hands. As I've already said in other videos, the educational standards that your children adhere to are set by your state. So what your kid learns in school is set by your state. What your kid reads in school is set by your state. The textbooks that they have, the lessons that they go through, that's already done at the state level. Primarily what the Department of Education is responsible for is the funding of all of it. So if he's able to do away with the Department of Education and put it in the state's hands, then all that's going to happen is your curriculum's not going to change one bit. Just how you pay for it is. Your state's going to have to pay for it rather than the federal government kicking in. But what I found interesting about the comment is the way you worded it. You said that he wants education to be put in the state's hands, not the government. Wouldn't the state be a government? It's your state government that does it. So it's still in the government's hands. It's just in the state government's hands. You don't want government to control your education, then you have a very big problem. Because if you take it out of where you guys believe it is, the federal government's hands, it's not. The educational standards, it's in your state's hands. If you take it out of the federal government's hands and give it to the states, you're still having a government have their hands on it. And then you could say to me, well, not the state's hands, we'll give it to the counties. Well, that's still a government too. You still go and elect those people too. Well, we'll give it to the town. Well, that's a fucking government too, man. So unless what you're saying is that each individual house is going to be its own school with its own educational standards and its own educational funding, then you're still going to have government involvement in some way, shape, or form. You guys don't want the federal government to be involved in your kids' education, okay? But what the federal government's involvement is paying for it. Your state already sets those standards. So if there's a book in your kid's library that you don't think should be there, the federal government doesn't have anything to do with that. Your state does. If there's a lesson that your kid brings home from school and you're like, this is bullshit, man, this is propaganda, you need to talk to the people in your state because your state is the one that sets that standard. If you want no government involvement in education at all, good fucking luck, man.